NPS Now, your source of news and information about Norfolk Public Schools. I'm your host, Karen Tanner. And with me today is Dr. Michael Thornton, Chief Financial Officer with Norfolk Public Schools. Thank you for joining me today.
It's good to be here.
Great to have you. I'm happy that you're here so we can discuss the upcoming school budget. First off, where are we in the budget process?
Well, we're well underway with the process. A lot of the behind-the-scenes technical work has taken place in terms of estimating revenue and expenditures for what it will take to run the school division for next year. As well, we're looking at enrollment projections to determine what our class size levels need to be, as well as what our staffing levels need to be. So the work is taking place. The school board is actively engaged. They're developing their budget priorities for next year, and that will drive the decisions that need to be made to support education for next year.
So how does the budget look so far?
Well, after 4 years of declining resources, we're expecting another challenging year. The many needs of the school division will once again likely exceed our available resources, but we're determined that we're going to maximize what we do have to impact teaching and learning.
What are some areas that may be affected?
Well, as we look at non-school-based operating costs, obviously we're trying to keep any potential reductions away from the classroom. So we're going to be looking at our non-school-based costs to determine how we can operate more efficiently with fewer resources.
Would this affect our VRS, you think?
Well, we're expecting increased costs for VRS next year. Governor McDonald has proposed increases for next year. So we would expect to see a significant increase in costs for next year, mandatory costs.
So what do we know about Governor McDonald's suggested budget for Norfolk Public Schools?
Well, outgoing Governor McDonald presented his proposed budget to the money committees of the Senate and House of Delegates on December 16th. And in his proposal, he is recommending some increases to direct aid for public education. However, after 4 or 5 years of significant reductions, hundreds of millions of dollars in reductions to public education, we're not expecting to recover all of those monies in 1 year.
So what are some of the key recommendations coming out of the governor's budget?
He's recommending increases in direct aid for public education. He's also recommending increases in state sales tax to be dedicated towards public education. But again, he's recommending increases in VRS costs to continue to fund the VRS system. So that's going to have a significant impact on our budget decisions as well.
So how does this affect our bottom line?
Well, right now, we have shared with the school board that based on Governor McDonald's recommended budget for the next biennium, we would expect to see a modest increase in state revenue of approximately $1.3 million. And I say modest because that represents less than 0.75%, less than 1% of our increase in state funding over the current year.
So what about local funding, like from City Council?
Right now, we're having conversations with City Council staff, city administration staff. So we don't have a concrete figure at this point in time, but we're continuing to have those conversations. And as we begin to move towards the superintendent's budget presentation in February, we have a more concrete idea as to what we can expect from City Council.
So every year, what do we particularly ask the city for in funding? How much do we normally ask the city for?
Well, we operate a $312 million budget, operating budget. Of that, approximately $115 million is provided by the City Council through local appropriations. That $115 million represents about 37% of our total operating budget. The balance is received from the state. So we would expect, hopefully, that we would at least maintain level funding for next year. The city has been very supportive over the last 4 or 5 years when we've seen this budget crisis, that they have actually increased their investments. So hopefully we can maintain that level of support, if not increase it for next year.
And the monies that we receive from them, a lot of that is teacher-driven, academics, or employees?
It goes to support direct instruction, primarily, which involves teaching and learning and class size. Some of the other initiatives that it provided for this year, this current year, was that it provided the support to provide a reading and math specialist at each of our elementary and middle schools. That was a $5 million investment. So we are very grateful that that has a direct impact on classroom instruction, and that's funded from the City Council, not the state.
Okay, do you have any indication of what we'll be getting from the city?
Not at this point. We're hoping that at a minimum we'll see level funding. Ideally, we'd like to see an increase, but again, we're having those conversations. The city has challenges as well. It has stepped up to the plate in recent years, and we're hopeful and cautiously optimistic that they will continue to do so.
So does this budget include funding for school construction?
No, the operating budget primarily provides the funding for the day-to-day operations of the facility, of the schools themselves, as it relates to teaching and learning and all of those supports, transportation, facility maintenance. It doesn't provide funding for the capital improvement plan. You know that the city has a plan to build 4 new schools, replacement schools. That comes through a separate fund. The state does not provide any funding support for school construction, so that's really a responsibility of the locality. And again, the city has demonstrated its willingness to support us in that effort.
So what's next in the budget process?
Well, we'll continue to do the analysis. We'll continue to have conversations with the school board through work sessions. We'll continue to work with the Budget Advisory Committee, is a committee that Dr. King convened to provide some advice, if you will, as to some of the decisions and choices that we should make. It's a representative group of stakeholders. We have representatives from the Council of PTAs. We have representatives from our teacher and employee group associations. We also have administrative staff and principals. The idea is to develop a budget that reflects the needs and the priorities of the school division and the community.
And I know that can be challenging at times, knowing the resources and the money funds and where they all come from. But you may be aware of this, and you may have an answer to this. Norfolk Public Schools and even around the state, we've gone to VHSL rules when it comes to how we do our sports now. And I'm sure there's going to be a transportation cost because we're now playing teams in other cities that we wouldn't ordinarily play, and it will require some out-of-town travel at times, especially for football. How much do you think that would add to the budget?
Out of a $312 million budget, it won't have a significant impact. Many of the sports-related costs are incurred at the school level through their student activity funds. So right now we're expecting a minimal impact on the operating budget at the central level, but we'll be prepared to support the transportation needs of the school division as it relates to VHSL changes.
Okay, so when is some upcoming budget talks that the community and parents and staff members can attend?
Okay, the school board, between now and the presentation of the superintendent's budget on February 20th, the school board, through its normal school board meeting schedule, will continue to have discussions on the budget. So you can tune in by attending the meetings, or you can watch on Channel 47, I guess.
Exactly. Okay. And then also, we'll know the piece about the city, how much money we're receiving from the city, and if you want to be an advocate, you can go speak to City Council on our behalf and come here and talk.
That's right.
Wonderful. So is there anything else you want to share with us about the budget this year?
Other than, as I mentioned, it'll be another challenging year, but the superintendent and school board are committed to maximizing the resources that we will have available. Of course, the needs will exceed those resources, so we need to be very strategic that the resource allocation aligns with the school board's 5-year strategic plan to ensure that we are maximizing those resources to support student achievement and teacher performance.
Let's regress back for a moment. What are some of the biggest challenges you think we're going to have with having a level funding or a balanced budget?
Obviously, our enrollment is continuing to decline at about 400 kids a year. However, the needs of the school division continue to grow. The intensity of the needs of our students that we serve continue to grow. So some critics would say that, well, your enrollment is declining, so your cost should decline, but there's not a direct correlation between the two because the students that we have, they have needs.
Right.
Whether we're trying to raise the floor or increase the ceiling, those come with a cost, and they're not directly related to the number of students, but the type of services that those kids require to motivate them, to get them to the level of performance that we think they should be and that their parents expect.
What is the per pupil cost for our
The
students?
per pupil cost is approximately $10,400 per student per year. We would expect that per pupil cost to continue to rise because, again, of the intensity of the level of services that we need to raise the floor and the ceiling at the same time.
Explain that a little bit, what that means if someone's watching the per pupil cost. What does that all entail?
Basically, that entails what it costs to educate a child in the city of Norfolk. From the point that they reach the bus stop in the morning and they get on that school bus and we transport them to school and everything that happens in between their getting to school and we transporting them safely at the end of the day back to their home. So that's how we calculate the per pupil cost.
So that's transportation costs.
Everything it costs to get the child from home back to home at the end of the day, and everything that takes place in the classroom and the support of that child on a daily basis.
Okay, transportation, academics.
Everything.
Now, school nutrition, are they a separate entity?
They are. School nutrition operates a separate fund. It's intended to be self-supported through federal reimbursements through the National School Lunch Program, as well as sales through the registry, if you will.
Mm-hmm. And they've had some great innovative ideas for our students and parents with healthy eating and what have you. So that is great. Well, I think you've shared a lot of great information with us today about the budget, and we want folks to come out on what, February 20th, you said?
February 20th, February 19th, actually.
February 19th,
February
okay.
20th was last year's presentation.
Okay.
Wednesday, February the 19th, the superintendent is scheduled to present his proposed budget to the school board.
Okay, we'll definitely get the word out to parents and staff from the community. And thank you for joining us today, Dr.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
And thank you for tuning in to NPS Now. Stay tuned for Sports Action with Steve Sutmiller.
Welcome back to NPS Now. I'm Steve Sutmiller, Senior Coordinator of Athletics. I'm at Norview High School where the Norfolk Duels are taking place. I had a chance to catch up with Tournament Director Keith Goff. Coach Goff, tell us a little bit about the Norfolk Duels, some history and how it got started.
Right now, this is the Norfolk Duels, its 17th year. It is a dual meet tournament consisting of 12 teams where we get teams from all across the state. We've had teams from North Carolina. We've got 2 schools from the beach, Tallwood High School, Lansdowne. We've got 4 for the peninsula. We've got AA schools as well where they get in a dual meet format and wrestle each other. It's different competition right before the district tournaments.
All right, you have formats going on. You have 12 teams. 17 years ago, was it the same format, and how has it grown?
It started out just like 8 teams. It was a one-day event. What we've done is we've got more teams, more across the state. So it's not the same competition. So teams kind of come to this event for year in, year out.
All right, the Norfolk Duels. How many Norfolk teams do we have participating?
Right now we have 3. We have Granby, we have Norview, and we have Booker T.
Coach, this is a significant event during the season. How does this benefit the wrestlers going forward?
It's a good test to see where we're at. Also, see those guys in the region in the postseason. So we're going to see those guys when it matters the most to qualify for region to get to the state tournament. There's some good quality wrestlers here this weekend.
All right, with the new Virginia High School League classification, do we have different classifications here participating today?
Yes, we have Division 6, 5, 4, and we have private school.
Tell me the format on how a team advances to this into the championship.
Teams are placed in a pool of 3, then they're going to wrestle each other. From that, they're going to go into an 8-team championship tournament. So we're going to have 1 through 8 in that tournament. The other teams are going to wrestle 9 through 12. So we're going to have 3 separate tournaments going on.
Tell me how our Norfolk teams should fare in this event.
We should do fairly well. I think that Norview, I think we could place in the top 4. Granby's got some pretty good kids. Booker T's got a full lineup, so we're gonna be competitive. We definitely got some quality individuals out there on all schools.
This 12-team event was an all-day affair. Let's take a look at the results. Let's take a look at some basketball action around the district.
Maury's girls played host as the Kellum Knights came to town in a Conference 9 matchup. The Lady Commodores jumped out early and often as Tiffany Daniels hits the jumper in the lane. Here, Jada Lucky spots up and knocks down the triple. Good defense being played here as Alexa Vanderplug gets the block. The Lady Commodores jumped out early and never let up as they coasted to a comfortable win. Conference 17 action took place as Lake Taylor welcomed Menchville. Good play down low here by India McKinney for the basket. Teammates working together as Carlisha Ferris with the backdoor pass to Andronette Cuffey for the layup. Coach Sandra Sawyer had to like what she saw as Taylor Whitley knocks down the three. Even the youngest Titan fans enjoyed what was going on as Lake Taylor rolled to victory.
For all your action and results, check out your Big Team websites. More NPS Now after this.
Welcome back to NPS Now. With me now is Tashara Voigt, Mentoring Coordinator with Norfolk Public Schools. Tashara, thank you for joining us on NPS Now.
Thank you for having me.
You have a very important role with Norfolk Public Schools with mentoring.
Yes, ma'am.
Why is it important to be a mentor?
Mentoring is important in the overall success of the child. Mentoring fosters positive relationships and also builds trust. And with those relationships and that trust, it helps that child build self-esteem and let them know that someone cares about them and that they matter to someone. And that is what helps them with their overall academic success, helps them in just success in life and just being the best person that they can be.
Well, this month is National Mentoring Month. Tell me what's so important about mentoring in taking a month to recognize mentoring.
Well, one of the pushes from the Obama administration is that they are really trying to get people involved. They are trying to help our children to become the best leaders that they can, become the best citizens that they can, and for us to just be an overall positive nation. And so with that, they are really pushing National Mentoring Month. So they are having events like the National Mentoring Month held at the end of the month in Arlington, Virginia, and that is where mentors and professionals and volunteers come from all over the country. And they come to not only learn what mentoring is, but they learn how to incorporate mentoring into their everyday, day-to-day professional lives, even if they're trying to run programs, what works, what does not work, and just teaching us what are the best practices of mentoring.
So it's like a conference, you come
Yes.
together, you do professional development. Is that how it works?
Yes, ma'am. We'll be doing professional development. We'll also be networking with other programs, networking with other coordinators, finding out what works with their program, what does not work, finding how we can make it more efficient and better for mentoring across the board.
So what are we doing here in Norfolk Public Schools to recognize Mentoring Month?
And Norfolk Public Schools, we're actually getting ready for our mentoring kickoff, where we will let everyone know that we are here and that the mentoring program is alive and it is thriving. We will also be recognizing Thank Your Mentor Day, which is on January 16th. And interestingly, that'll also be the day that the Virginia Mentoring Partnership attends the General Assembly in Richmond, where we will meet with legislators and congressmen and senators to push and advocate for funding for mentoring programs across the state.
So what could you do in particular, or you're going to do in particular, with mentoring with our students?
Well,
This month.
what we are going to do is we've already distributed posters to all of our coordinators that will be placed all over the schools that will be encouraging our adults to be someone to someone who matters. We will also be...
So is that the theme?
Yes, it will be...
Say that again?
Be someone,
Be someone
who matters to someone who matters.
Matter to someone who matters. That's
Yes,
a
ma'am.
mouthful.
Yes, ma'am. And so we have already distributed the posters, so those will be up. We will also be handing out thank you cards for those mentees and mentors to give out to those people who were significant in their lives. And we've distributed bookmarks, and we have recruitment cards, and we're just really, really excited. We have trainings and orientation, so those are all the things that we are doing to prepare for the mentoring initiative in Norfolk Public Schools.
And this is going to be on every grade level.
Yes, ma'am. This will be across the district in all of our schools in the city of Norfolk.
Now, as the mentoring coordinator, how do these programs work in our schools?
The programs actually look different. My goal is to create a streamlined program where we make sure that everyone is following the same practices, that everyone are following the same guidelines and standards. However, in your individual school, your students are different. They look different and they have a different set of needs. So within each school, you may have some students who are pulled out of their classroom time or may use their resource time or lunch time to have someone come in and just sit down and talk with them. Or you may have an after-school program where a group gets together and someone comes in and does an activity with them. So it really does look different depending on the needs in the school.
So in order to do this, it costs money, right?
Yes, ma'am.
How does that work?
Interestingly, we did have a program. I'm sure many are aware that there was a mentoring program a few years ago in Norfolk Public Schools that, because of budget cuts, were phased out. And so now they have partnered with the Virginia Mentoring Partnership, who also partners with AmeriCorps Vista, and they have provided a grant, and that's actually how my position came to be. They put in for the grant. The grant is for 1 year for someone to come in and to help build the capacity of the program. And a part of that is to establish community partnerships, reaching out to those who are in the area who are willing to provide resources, who are willing to provide funding, and who are willing to provide what we may need to help our programs be successful.
So what are your goals and your direction for our mentoring program this year?
My goals for this year, well, first is our website, which is coming up, and we hope to launch that very soon, by the end of the month, hopefully. We are also, again, as I said, we are preparing for our kickoff, a very fun event for parents, for potential mentees, for those who are interested in becoming mentors, and even to highlight some of our mentor programs that are already in existence. We will also have brochures that will come out to tell you what mentoring is all about and what mentoring looks like in Norfolk Public Schools. And my overall goal is, again, to establish community relationships, to establish relationships with those organizations, with those partners that are in the community, so that we cross our fingers that it does not happen. But if there are budget cuts, again, the program will be self-sustaining and will be able to continue to go on.
So what type of training does a mentor receive?
Well, we have actually training on 3 levels. We have trainings for our coordinators, and they have to attend an elements of effective practice training, which makes sure that they are using best practices when they are training their mentors. We want to make sure that we are not doing anything to hurt our children. We want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to help them.
Right.
And so then they also attend a train the trainer, which is, as a trainer, they have to be able to train the mentors on what works, what does not work, and what's right and what is not right. And then we'll have an orientation session to let them know this is what mentoring should look like in your school. Then on the mentor level, they have to attend a training as well. They have to attend an orientation session to let them know what the expectation is across Norfolk Public Schools, and then what is expected of that particular school. And they will also receive that same training on what types of things do you do with your mentees, what types of activities, here are some ideas, because we don't want to just say, Karen, I'm going to partner you with Tashara, and now you just go on and do your own thing. We want to make sure that there's some guidance, that they have goals set, you know, that they're able to push towards something, because we want to be able to measure the success at the end.
This is very organized.
Yes.
So let me step back for a second. How can you become a mentor? What's the process?
Well, I would say the process, the first line of defense is, if you would like to become a mentor, is to contact myself. Give me a call, send me an email. We will sit down and we will discuss some of your goals and what you see as mentoring and how you feel you can best help. And from there, we will decide if maybe mentoring is the best avenue for you. And if not, then we will find another capacity in which you could serve. If for whatever reason you cannot reach me by phone or you cannot reach me by email, then you can you can go to the A+ Communities website. That's nps.volunteers.org, and fill out the application, and that will let me know that you're interested, and then I will be in contact with you.
So in essence, you go through the A+ Community Partners website,
Yes.
through the foundation, through the Norfolk
Yes.
Education Foundation.
Yes, ma'am.
And fill out the form, and then the form filters down and you receive that information.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great, because that's where people go to become partners and to volunteer. So this is great. So what types of mentoring activities are actually happening in the schools?
Well, I know with one of our schools in particular, they have a male mentoring group, and they actually have a direct partnership with the superintendent where they come to visit him, and they're able to ask him questions. He's able to go through some life lessons with them, and I had an opportunity to sit in on that a couple of weeks ago before the break, and it was phenomenal. The young men were engaged. They enjoyed having that opportunity to speak to the superintendent, and he thoroughly enjoyed being able to be a part of their group. We also have some physical mentoring programs going on, like Girls on the Run, where children are learned, they are taught self-esteem through physical activity. And so we have several different types of activities that are going on throughout the district.
So it could be academic, it could be physical, it could be whatever talent, time, or resource of a group or person that wants to come in and do it at the school.
Yes, ma'am.
Wonderful. Well, I'm excited about this mentoring program, and just your excitement in the stick-to-itiveness that you have, even though it's a year. What are we looking at for next year, continuing this mentorship program?
Well, after talks with the director and the department, they do look to renew the grant to continue in this position, because mentoring is not a short-term resolution. It is a long-term investment in our students. And so we will look to continue to support this position. We will apply for the grant again, and we will continue to, again, look for those partnerships and resources that will continue to build the program.
I'm excited. Sign me up. I mean, I'm PTA president, but I think being a mentor is a great thing. And who are some of the partners or people that you already know of that's mentoring in our school system?
Well, I would have to say our education department in the state of Virginia is excellent. Our universities and colleges have just reached out and extended their hand, and they have been more than willing to support. We partner with ODU, we partner with Norfolk State University, we partner with Eastern Virginia Medical School. We have community resources. We have our fraternities and our sororities. We have our firemen, our judges, our policemen. So we have so many people who are giving back. We even have alumni from Norfolk Public Schools who said, how can I be a part? How can I help? So to list them all, we do not have enough time, but we have a lot of partners who are just so willing and so open to come and be a part of our movement.
And you just said something very important, alumni of Norfolk Public Schools. I think it's great if they come back and give back to the school system.
Yes, ma'am, and that's one of the exciting things is I'm actually an alumni of Norfolk Public Schools. I attended Maury High School, and so to be able to come on the other end and to help and to build the district also fuels my passion that I have for working in this position.
Well, Tashara, I want you to give out the number and your email address so folks who are watching, they can contact you.
Well, I can be reached at tvoid, that's VOID, like you void out a check, at nps.k12.va.us, and my phone number is 757-628-3931.
Thank you. I can't stop saying the excitement, and I hope you have challenged folks watching this show to go to the website, sign up, or contact you and become a mentor here at Norfolk Public Schools. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Great. And we want to thank you for watching NPS Now. It airs weekly on WNPS Channel 47, or you can view us online at www.npsk12.com. Again, thank you for watching NPS Now.